Hey there, my name is Henry and I live in San Francisco and I invest in Cleveland, Ohio. And in this video, I'll talk about property management. It's an issue that a lot of people bring up, especially because they're out of state and they're not sure how to best approach property management in a way that gets them the results that they want to see. You buy these properties and you want someone to take care of these properties and put tenants in them so that the properties will actually cash flow. And one of the challenges is that how can you find a good property manager who isn't taking advantage of you? So from my experiences, there's actually 3 ways that you can really make sure that you have the right property manager in place. Tip number 1, I would say, is to read the fine print. As you're talking to property managers, you can ask them all kinds of questions. But at the end of the day, it's what really matters is what the property management agreement says. So you want to make sure, to look for a few things. One thing I always look for is whether the fees, is it 1 month's rent plus 10%? Is it 1 month's rent plus 12%? Make sure to also look at renewal fees. Do they charge a whole month for renewing a lease, or do they charge a smaller amount, say a percentage or a fixed amount? So after you look at fees, one thing you really want to watch out for is the wording about how they're going to distribute the funds to you. Sometimes they say 10% of collective rent. Other times they might say 10% of the set rent or 10% of scheduled rent, which is a red flag, because what they can basically do is that the set or scheduled rent could be $1,000, but they never collected it, or the tenant doesn't pay, or they just never were able to retrieve the money. They're still charging you that 10%, which is $100, for managing a property that has a tenant that isn't paying. So make sure to read that, it's not scheduled rent, it's not just the rent, it's actually collected rent. So basically, if you don't make money, the property manager also doesn't make money. You want to keep your interest as aligned as possible. And then the last thing I would look for within the property management agreement is the repair markup. Sometimes they would say, for every repair that we do a 10% markup. Or sometimes they might say, we do everything in-house. It's just good to know how you're spending your money. So tip number 1, make sure to read the fine print. Make sure that you're signing something that you've already read and understood, because again, these are legally binding and they lock you in for about a year or sometimes even 2 years. So I would stay away from the 2 years and just do the 1 year. Tip number 2, communication. Real estate investing, especially for out-of-state investors, is very much active. It's very much hands-on. If you don't communicate with your property manager, chances are is that they're not going to be held accountable, or they might slack off a bit. Early on, especially, you want to communicate with them, but in a healthy way. You don't want to text or call them every other day. You want to set realistic expectations with them and really hold them up to that. So one thing that I found was really helpful is that what I did when I started was I created a spreadsheet and I said, hey, I have 1 year and this is what 1 year looks like. And by month 2, I want to have my unit, occupied. And then by month 6, I want to have my unit be cash flowing in a positive manner. And then by year 1, it should be, pretty automated. Like I should be able to anticipate my expenses and my rent. And usually they're pretty receptive about that. In my experience, it took about 6 months to a year to really cash flow, because in the beginning, you just bought your property, you're probably putting in money to fix it up or get it rent ready. And then you're probably thinking about maybe 2 to 3 weeks to find a tenant and have them move in. And then the first month, you're not getting paid because the property manager is taking that first month's rent as part of their fee. So it takes about 3 to 4 months to kind of get it situated. And then by month 6, 7, 8, you should be getting healthy monthly returns. And so start with the cash flow and also the expectations. And then secondly, I would say set up a monthly check-in with your property manager. During these monthly calls, I just go over simple issues like, hey, how are the tenants doing? What are the repairs for this month? If the cash flow honestly comes in, like if the money comes in, sometimes I just skip these calls because I just tell the property manager, hey, I don't think we need to meet because I got my owner distribution and nothing looks too crazy or funky on the owner statements. Those 2 things are the big things. One is you have a cash flow sheet And usually you just tell them, hey, this is what I'm looking for. If by the end of this year, I'm not cash flowing positive, then I'm breaking the lease. And that incentivizes them to do a better job for you. And then the monthly check-ins kind of keeps them on their toes, and then also keeps you well informed of what's going on. Tip number 3 is be patient. I guess when I started as a real estate investor, I thought I was going to cash flow in the first 3 to 4 months, but it took almost 6-7 months, and maybe in one instance almost a year for the property to cash flow. And again, the reason being is that there's a lot of different variables in place. For example, when I bought one of my duplexes, and within like month 3, the furnace went out. And obviously I was disappointed and that I have to pay another $3,000 to replace the furnace. I knew that it was not the property manager's fault, and it was also not the tenant's fault. Like, they were tenants that really took care of the property. It was in wintertime and the furnace was old, so it went out. And I said, oh, this is something I have to pay for, and I just have to deal with it. So yeah, tip number 3, just really be patient and really know what are the expenses that are associated with real estate and which of them are really caused by you as the owner, the property manager's negligence, or the tenant's negligence, or maybe the property is just old. So all of these 4 variables can have an effect on your cash flow. And don't always blame your property manager. Again, your property manager is there to help and support you, and you should see them as a teammate and not an adversary or someone that you should be getting mad at because something goes wrong with your property. So those are my 3 tips. Tip number 1 is read the fine print. Make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. Tip number 2, communication. Stay proactive with your property manager in all communication. And then finally, tip number 3 is be patient. Good things happen to those who wait. That's it. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and comment below if you have any questions. I also linked Facebook group for out-of-state investors in the descriptions, and I actually put together a spreadsheet of all the property managers in Cleveland with their PMAs, which is property management agreement, and you should be able to find that if you join the Facebook group. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and good luck investing. See you.